Ethan. Hi, Ari. This has been Massachusetts' flag for 117 years. It looks horrible. They put a depiction of a Native American on a white bedsheet and called it a day. Actually, just before that, they wrote some Latin on there for extra bad flag measure. Put a pin in that Latin. We'll come back to that. So, the state of Massachusetts held a referendum to select a new flag. Here's the top three. I think they're alright. I like the Blue Hill banner the best. I think that they're all leaps and bounds better above the current design. But for some reason, on the Massachusetts state website, the flags are super low resolution. And as far as I can tell, they don't exist anywhere else on the internet in a higher resolution because I only see other people on the internet using these same shitty grainy images. Also, during my search, I found the Massachusetts Naval Militia flag, which is so bad it's good again. Imagine flying this flag during the Revolutionary War. I'm not joking. 6 ships flew this flag. Anyways, while we're designing new flags, I don't like Boston's current flag either. It's a seal on a bedsheet ranked 133rd out of 150 city flags in a 2004 survey by the National American Vexillological Association. It has this boring continental blue with a seal that uses English, Latin, and the year of the city's founding. Oh my god. And worst of all, we have a drawing of the city skyline with boats and waters and a teeny tiny little flag right in the middle. A flag isn't a canvas for the landscape of your city. Also, on the back of this flag was originally a depiction of the Tri-Mountain that Boston was founded on. We'll come back to that. This flag is supposed to be flown with a gold fringe, which I think is awesome, but I have not been able to find a single picture of it with its fringe. I think the flag is supposed to have its gold fringe when it's inside, which never happens because it feels like the only place that the flag flies is out front of the State House. I'm so jealous of Chicago's city flag. It looks great. Has good symbolism, which I won't go into for the sake of time, but most importantly, the people of Chicago love it. When I go to Chicago, I actually see their flag waving in places other than City Hall. I see it in a massive mural in O'Hare Airport welcoming me to the city when I fly in. Their children wear backpacks with the Chicago flag on them. And I hear you say to yourself, you can buy a backpack with any design on it nowadays, but you can't buy a backpack with the Boston City flag. For my flag, I'm going to use the North American Vexillological Association's principles for good flag design. First, keep it simple. The flag should be so simple that a child could draw it from memory. 2. Use meaningful symbolism. The flag's images, colors, and patterns should relate to what it symbolizes. Third, use 2 or 3 basic colors. Limit the number of colors on the flag to 3 which contrast well and come from the standard color set. 4. No lettering or seals. Never use writing of any kind or an organization's seal. Hear that, Boston's flag? 5. Be distinctive or be related. Avoid duplicating other flags, but use similarities to show connections. I am going to use these principles as guidelines, but I might not use all of them for every flag design. For Boston's flag, I wanted to make a list of things that I think of when I think of Boston. What does our city represent? What are our values? First, I think of the founding of America. Boston is one of the country's oldest and most storied cities. Second, I think of the Tri-Mount. This refers to the historical name for the original Boston Peninsula called Shawmut, which was named for its 3 prominent hills, Beacon Hill, West Hill, and Cotton Hill. In modern Boston, Tremont Street was named after these 3 hills that Boston was built upon. Education. Boston is known for having some of the best education in the world. Boston is sometimes referred to as the brain power triangle. Brain power triangle. Due to having the 3 schools, Harvard, MIT, and Tufts, which is funny because none of these schools are actually in Boston's city limits. And lastly, when I think of Boston, I think of public land. 2 of my favorite places in Boston are Boston Common and Revere Beach. Boston Common was the first public park in the US and is a beautiful park in the middle of downtown. Revere Beach was the first public beach in the US and I lived within walking distance of it for 2 years. I'm proud to live in a city that has set the standard for public land in the US and that has both of these beautiful places where I'd love to spend my time. Flag 1. For this flag, I knew I wanted to feature the tri-mount and the golden fringe of the current flag. I started with the tri-mount in the form of 3 triangles and added a nice sky above them. The gold border stands in for the golden fringe in a way that can fly inside and out. And then in the middle, I put 1 star, which resembles the shape of a compass rose, honoring Boston's naval history. The star is also a reference to the Blue Hill Banner, which I think is the best contender for the Massachusetts state flag. Flag 2. For this flag, I started with this current Boston City flag. I think that it has good shape, but the features themselves are lacking. I knew that I wanted to put something in the middle, but I wasn't sure what. I looked back at the Massachusetts state slogan. Remember when I said I was going to put a pin in it? Let's take that pin out. The slogan is Latin for "By the sword we seek peace, but peace only under liberty." What an awesome slogan. I wanted to use the Boston slogan, but it was much lamer. So for this flag, I added the sword that we use to seek peace and the torch to represent the liberty where we should have such peace. This flag honors the old flag and maintains the revolutionary spirit that our city was founded with. For my third flag, I started with the idea of having a blue-green split to represent Boston Common and Revere Beach, respectively. And in the middle, I wanted to put a triangle to represent Boston's brainpower triangle, the heart of our education. But I didn't want to just slap a triangle in the middle and call it a day, so I decided to add a 3-pointed star. Here I faced 2 problems. One, Google Drawings doesn't have a 3-pointed star preset, so I tried to make one on my own. This didn't work well. I think it's a case of a bad worker with bad tools. Problem 2 is that Boston has more than just 3 great schools. There's also Northeastern University, my alma mater. Also, by adding Northeastern, there's now a school on the list that actually lies within Boston city limits. This flag represents the public good that Boston thrives for in the form of our public land and our education, largely provided by public universities that invest in weapon manufacturers, but let's not dwell on that in my fun flag video. Here's my 3 flags. They're all a little lacking, but this is my first draft of each of them. I used a lot of blue and green, which are bad flag colors in my opinion, because they blend in with the sky and the trees, and they're also ugly. Also, these flags are a little bland, but I think that the sword and torch flag could have real legs if I gave it another pass. I wish that the badass slogan was Boston's slogan instead of Massachusetts' slogan. Boston's flag sucks. It's one of the worst on the list, and you never get to see it. But together, we can change this. Talk to your friends about the city flag. Call and email the office of Mayor Michelle Wu. Make your own flags and share them on the internet. And maybe one day, we'll have a great flag that represents our city. And if we are lucky, we'll even have Boston flag backpacks. Bye, brothers. See you next week.